Baby, I don't know what it is about this time of year. Yes, I do. I think they call it Valentine's Day. What it is about this time of year is that every now and then I get a little bit more on the what's going on in my relationship right now. And this is so that we can talk about the difference between having highs and lows in your relationship and being mistreated in your relationship. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the Daily Donna. You already know what it is. I am Dr. Donna Oriowo, your host of the Daily Donna, and we are talking about a therapeutic enough concept, as in it comes up enough in therapy. As you know, I am a sex and relationship therapist. I'm the author of Drink Water and Mind Your Business, a Black woman's guide to unlearning the BS and healing self-esteem. And I thought it only appropriate that we have a little bit of a self-esteem conversation. Now, here's the thing. I want to offer some more credentials for this conversation because we are talking about something that can be considered like therapeutic in nature. Now, here's the thing. I am an actual sex and relationship therapist. That's not something that I say for shits and gigs. It's something that is actually true, which means that I have training in talking about these things, particularly with clients. But I also have a master's of education, which means I'm also trained to teach it. And so I want to offer also a disclaimer for this conversation. I am a therapist. I am not your therapist. So make sure that you take what I got to say here as entertainment, because in a way, that's sort of what it is. And while I may want you to think and, of course, apply whatever needs application, like lotion, baby, you put it where it's needed. I also want to remind you that you don't know the ingredients here, which means it may not be for you. And I am not your therapist. I don't know the ins and outs of your relationship. I cannot tell you what is. I can only give you an estimation based off what I know. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. I've got three main points that I want to get in today, and those are about your self concept, the difference between those regulars, those ups and downs, and checking in on that communication. So, starting with number one, self concept is a must to determine whether or not there actually is mistreatment. Now, self concept is required for self esteem. Self concept is what you know about yourself. Self esteem is how you feel about yourself. What you know, how you feel. That is the difference. Now, when it comes to how self concept can help you, you have to know for yourself what kind of treatment you actually want to see and receive. That means what kind of words do you like to hear? What kind of things do you want to see? What kind of things would they say? What kind of smells would you smell? What kind of feels would you feel? And, the general aura of it all. I say use the five senses. That's what we just went through, right? The five senses. If you feel like you're hearing a bunch of stuff that hurts your feelings, if you're seeing things that you do not like, and that may even be atypical, these are warning signs that something is amiss in what you are experiencing within the context of your relationship. So you use what you know about you to determine how you feel about it. Right? You know what words you're hearing. You know what kind of things you're seeing. Maybe what you smelling like. Are they cooking like they used to? Like, or what you're not smelling. Do they smell? Um, right? All of these things are important and pertinent to help you to get a better understanding of where you are, right? What you know about you and what you know about how you like to be treated, how you like to feel within the context of your relationship. All of these things, that self-concept will help you to better determine whether or not they are aligned or misaligned with their behaviors, with their thoughts, with their whatever they're giving on to you and then within your relationship. Those things will make it better for you to be able to say, or easier for you to be able to say, no, that's not it. Now, self-concept is only, like I said, it's one thing. You've got to know you. If you don't know you, if you don't know what you like, and if you can't say it with your mouth and your whole chest, right, stand on the business of that, all 10 toes down, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to be able to tell what's just regular up and down and what is being mistreated. For that, I would say that when it comes to like the regular ups and downs versus mistreatment, you have to have had an up. No, that sounds wild because it's like, why would I say it like that? You had to have had an up. I'm saying that because some people will talk about ups and downs in a relationship, but you never had an up, sis. All you had were downs. And so it was never good. And then it got worse. And then it went back to not good. That's not an up and down, baby. That's just mistreatment. Right? So set the bar. What is the bar? What is the type of treatment you want to receive in a relationship? Has the treatment in your relationship historically met here and lower? If it's only been here and lower, maybe that's mistreatment. Okay? If it's been here and higher, and then something has happened or occurred, and now there's some lows, there's some dips, but it goes back up, that is a high, that could very likely be a high and low versus a mistreatment. Now, mind you, if you set your bar in hell, that is where they'll meet you. I want to make sure I say it again. If you set the bar in hell, that is where they will meet you. So if your treatment level is like, oh, well, I don't know, they sent me a good morning, hey boo text. If that is the standard, if that's all you require, if there never has to be a phone call, never has to be time spent together, never has to be a date, never has to be anything beyond they texted you and that's the crux of your relationship, maybe you don't even have a relationship and you should consider and sit in that. But if the bar is down there and that is what you consider good, fair, delightful treatment and it makes you happy, then I mean, to each their own, really, right? If you like it, I love it. Isn't that what they say? Now, a high and low requires there to actually have been highs, like I said. Now, if it's mistreatment, then if your bar is here and they've always fallen below the bar, you have to be the one to determine whether or not they're mistreating you. And mistreatment mostly means they're missing the mark on how you like to be treated. For that, I usually ask this question first. Have you told them how you like to be treated? I know the girlies are outside saying, I'm not finna tell no grown anybody how to treat me. They gotta already come knowing they don't know you. And there are so many people outside with low self-esteem and who accept mistreatment as a regular course of a day that they may think that the way they behaved with that other person is perfectly acceptable for you until you say otherwise, until they see otherwise, until they hear otherwise, until they it is unavoidable, right? So if you don't say anything and you don't do anything with continued mistreatment, then baby, it's just mistreatment. And part of it is you've allowed that kind of mistreatment. I am also one, I feel the need to say this. I'm talking about mistreatment, not abuse. All abuse that is non-consensual, right? Like if someone lays hands on you and it is not a part of your fun time shenanigans, that is mistreatment. If someone is talking mess about you and that's all they do, that is mistreatment. If they are abusing you, and I'll go ahead and put the wheel of power and control on the screen, if you see these type of behaviors, that is abuse, which I think of as being a little bit more than mistreatment. I put this thing on a spectrum, okay? You have princess treatment, if that's what you're looking for, right? Like the best of the best, like you feel fully human, fully you on this side. And on this side is abuse, all the way on this side. Here is maybe your line of what you desire, and mistreatment dips over here, but is still not abusive. I want to make sure that we clarify that. Mistreatment and abuse are not the same thing. Mistreatment is mistreatment, abuse is abuse. So, another thing that you can ask yourself when you're sort of exploring whether or not this is mistreatment or just regular housing lows, I usually take it to the 4 agreements. That's a book that I'll put here somewhere. But the 4 agreements basically says, one of the 4 agreements says, do not take anything personally. So to that end, I usually say, take a look at what's going on, right? What is the treatment that you feel is missing the mark on how you like to be engaged? And if you can very easily pinpoint a why, like there has been a death in the family, there's been a loss of job, there's grief, there is increased anxiety or some other level of uncertainty going on specifically with that person. Not talking about what's going on for everybody, even though what's going on for everybody is also something that merits taking a look at, because how we all react to the world is going to be different. Take a look at those things. And is it about you? Are they taking the personal and it's impacting the relationship, or are they just talking shit about the relationship? Those are not the same thing. When someone is complaining about the relationship, still be asking yourself, what is this about? Because if it is for them about the relationship, then yes, it very well could be mistreatment, and they are trying to find a way to tell you something else that they are needing. So maybe a need is not being met either from you or from themselves, right? Or it could be that the stuff that is going on outside of your relationship is taking them away from your relationship because they have so many other things going on and to deal with, and that maybe they don't have the resources for. And when I say resources, I mean sometimes they don't have the money, but sometimes they also don't have the energy, they don't have the strength, they don't have enough higher executive functioning to deal with stressors in various areas at this level, and are just trying to find their way through. That can be an indicator of a high and low versus a mistreatment, the source as it was. And then I would usually say the third thing here is to check the communication. Consider what they're saying and how they are saying it. If they are still saying things in a loving way, if they are still showing up or trying to show up or expressing an interest, or maybe they have a distracted presence, it is very likely that that is a high low versus a mistreatment. But if the communication gets to being not just accusatory, but also inflammatory, like it hurts when they talk to you, and you're constantly and ceaselessly in a space of recovery from your interactions with them, that sounds like mistreatment to me. Again, to me. I am not your therapist. I don't know you. I'm not there. I didn't hear it. You did. So you have to determine, did it hurt? Right? Now, some things harm us or hurt us, but they are not harmful. And usually you can tell by the way that you might have to recover after, right? If it is a long recovery process, if you find yourself consistently dreading being in their presence at all, these may be indications that, yes, they could be the lowest of the low, but it could also be dipping into a space of mistreatment. They can have a high and low and not hurt you. They can have a low and be communicative with you. They can still have loving language towards you. Now, I don't like putting my business out there in the street, but I will. There was a time where Mr. Boothang was having a concern at work. And the way that it showed up at home was like these sulking, sullen silences, but that ain't had nothing to do with me. I ain't did nothing to you, right? And there was a shorter fuse, right? So like the frustration was a little higher. And in that moment, I was just like, excuse me, sir, I ain't did shit to you. I understand that you are frustrated at work, but why don't you exercise some boundaries at work instead of exercising your frustration here? This led to us having a more open conversation about what was going on at work and how he was being negatively impacted. It wasn't about me, right? I didn't take it personally because it wasn't about me. Instead, I mostly redirected like, hey, I get that you're frustrated, but I ain't did shit to you. So you want to talk about your frustration, because I'm not a punching bag, a verbal punching bag or an emotional punching bag, whatever. So the point is, you have to consider whether or not you're constantly in a space of recovery and what it feels like for you to be there. Now, just because it's a low doesn't mean that you feel inclined to stay either. So you also need to determine for yourself, how long can a low last without you taking maybe some outside intervention, right? Outside intervention could be that maybe you get a therapist, a couples therapist, to help you through this low patch. Maybe it's that you go back to the basics of your relationship and try to figure out ways to see each other, communicate with each other, date each other. Usually I recommend that my couples in particular, that they do rosebud thorn. It is a communication method that I would usually say do it once a week, where you are able to talk about what's going on in your individual worlds, but also how the individual worlds are impacting the world of your relationship. So rose would be something that is beautiful and blooming that you enjoy. Thorn is something that is hurt or is sticking and that you need to have a conversation about. And the bud is something small that you notice that you feel is blooming and growing in the right direction and that you like to see more of. So doing that helps you to also get an idea of what's going on in the individual spaces that are impacting your relationship. Now, again, I'm not in your relationship. I can't tell you definitively whether or not what you are going through is high or low, or whether or not that thing is simple mistreatment. But some of it is going to be based off you and what you determine is mistreatment. What is base level treatment for you? What is great level treatment for you? What is the ideal treatment level for you? And then what you are getting currently. And generally speaking, as long as your partner is not abusive and you are not scared of them, I recommend having a conversation with them. They are after the one you chose to be with. So have a conversation with them about what you're noticing and what you feel like you're needing more of or less of. Now, I like to do a little feelings check-in, so I'm going to go ahead and put my chart right here on the screen. You can go ahead and get you your own poster like the one behind me or whatever, but I want to know what sort of came up for you. What are some of the feelings? And make sure you just put those things in the chat. If you made it to this point of the video, I just want to know, how are you feeling? One, but also, what are some signs for you that would help you to know whether or not you're just having highs and lows versus being mistreated? What would you say are some of the differences for you? And I'm asking this because inquiring minds want to know. Somebody needs more examples than what I gave, and they might just be the ones that you got. So go ahead and put them in the comment section. And remember, discourse, not disrespect. Check the description so that you can get a copy of the Wheel of Power and Control, so that you can find this feelings chart and any other resources that I have for you. All right. This has been, I think, like our third episode of the Daily Donna. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.